Hey everyone, it's Lindsay from My Crafty Plans. Today I am back in front of the camera and I am going to be doing a goal setting video again. So I have my MakseLife Quarterly companion notebooks and today we are going to be getting set up for the month of March. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is first, with my face front to the camera, I'm going to be reflecting on my February goals and how my month went as a whole. Y'all really seemed to enjoy that last month, so I thought I would try it again this month, and I'm really excited. You might notice I'm in a slightly different location in my office. I'm actually just below where I usually film, sitting face forward. I figured out how to film while sitting on the floor, which makes it really a lot easier for me to get this setup done because I don't have to move my tripod, which is really convenient. So hopefully that means more face front videos coming to my channel in the future. But anyways, so I'm going to do my goals reflection for the month of February facing front, and then I'm going to flip things over to the tabletop view and we're going to go right into a speed setup of my monthly calendars and just like the decorative elements of my functional planner for the month of March, excuse me. And then afterwards I'm going to stay on the tabletop view but switch to a talk through process, and I will be breaking down my annual goals for the year into my goals for the month of March. So if you are interested in that, you can stay tuned. So just like last month, I filled out my reflections pages off camera. I just find that for me, it comes out a little bit more authentic and I can really take my time to reflect on the month if I do it off camera. And I'd much rather do that and then just be able to interact with you this way to share how things went. So I'm actually going to start at the bottom of the page. The last thing on the reflections page before the notes page is it just asks you to rate your month on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of like how well things went. And I gave myself a 7 for the month of February. Now, objectively speaking, my month went pretty well. I was able to get like a lot of the things that I wanted done. I have a lot of check marks on my actual February goals. I was able to do something that I had been putting off for a while that ended up being like not as big of a deal as I initially thought it was. Just like a lot of small wins like that, and I feel really good about all of that. However, the month ended on a really sour note, which was a canceled birthday party, and that just really very much put a damper on kind of like my whole overall feeling about the month, and it caused me to give myself a lower score. And you might be saying 7 isn't so low of a score, but I think that the way we rate things from 1 to 10 is just really just very personal, and for me a 7 seems pretty low for a month, especially a month where I do feel like I got a lot done. For example, I did give myself a 9 for January, and I don't feel like I accomplished any less in February, objectively speaking. It's just that this was just such a huge disappointment. We had scheduled a birthday party last weekend for both my girls, a family birthday party, because their birthdays are really close together. They're turning 2 and 6, and we had like this whole thing planned. My husband took off work on Friday and we were gonna smoke a brisket and do our whole thing. Everyone was invited. It was very hard to get this scheduled because, you know, we've got a lot of conflicting family schedules, and we were just super excited about it. The kids were all really excited about it, and then my kids all got the stomach flu instead, and my husband. So instead of having this wonderful party, we just had a really long, terrible, exhausting weekend that just featured taking care of a lot of sick children and a sick husband, and was just no fun whatsoever, instead of a birthday party. And it was just really disappointing, and I did my reflections shortly after that happened, which I'm sure colored my whole overview of the month. Now that there's been a little bit more time since that, and also we have scheduled the birthday party. We're going to be trying it again this weekend, although not everyone can come this weekend, but we're doing the best we can. I am feeling a little bit better about it and about the month in general, but you know what? It is what it is, and that's how I was feeling. Honestly, I'm still really disappointed about this. Life happens, illness happens, kids happen, all of that stuff. I'm not mad at myself or anything, but it was a huge disappointment, and I think it's okay to acknowledge that and let that be reflected in my monthly reflections. So in terms of my February goals and how things overall really went, I was able to check off almost everything on my list. There's a couple of areas that I'm struggling with, but most of the things that I got done, that I set out to get done this month, and all of the major things that I set out to get done this month, I was actually able to accomplish, which is really fantastic. My big focus area for the month of February was the work and learning category, and specifically it was about establishing some of my professional branding. If you don't know, I work freelance was nothing related to planners or this channel or even anything like content creation wise. But I just really wanted to like work on my LinkedIn page and stuff like that for my business. And I was able to do that, and it was honestly something that I had put off for a really long time just because it made me feel really nervous. And you know, it was just ended up being one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a big deal, I don't want to do this, and just putting it off and putting it off. And then when I actually did it, it only took about 5 minutes and it wasn't that big of a deal. So, you know, I feel really great about that. It's such a bad feeling in your stomach when you're really dreading something like that, but it feels so good when you finally accomplish that. And then with that, I ended up having such an amazing conversation with one of my clients from work, just related to that overall goal. And the conversation had initially started out with, I was just like, I wanted to be like, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm planning to do this now and this year, but I don't want you to worry. I'm not looking for a full-time job or leaving you or changing anything that I've been doing for you. I just want to let you know that this is something I'm working on. And it ended up being so amazing because not only were they totally supportive of that, but they were like, well, we actually have these projects coming up that sort of serve that goal too, and would you be interested in that? So not only did it end up feeding me more work back, which is fantastic because like I said, I work freelance, so if I don't work, I don't get paid, but it ends up, you know, enabling me to have access to some projects that I maybe otherwise wouldn't have had that are serving that goal of establishing my professional reputation a little bit more. Overall, that was definitely my biggest win for the month. But in addition to that, again, I was just able to get a lot done while staying flexible. I really was able, the thing that I love the most about the MakseLife system so far is it's keeping me focused on my goals while allowing me to rearrange things for my life. So we did have another kid in quarantine at the beginning of this month, very briefly, and then you have to shuffle things around. And then again, we obviously had this canceled birthday party, and yeah, I got way more down about that than I did about other ones. But even still, with that, I've still been able to get a lot done, to move things around as needed, even goals-wise move things around, and like, you know, my schedule is coming first, but I'm working towards the things that I want to build into my life. And overall, that each of those little steps, every time I am able to like move something around and not feel guilty about not getting it done or reprioritize things, I'm feeling really good about that. I consider it a win, and I'm really grateful for the MakseLife system because of that. So the next question in there in the MakseLife reflections after biggest win is things that are currently working in my life. And the biggest thing right now that I'm going to mention here, maybe slightly controversial on a planner channel, is actually digital planning. So I am very much a paper planner. I will always be a paper planner. I absolutely love my spiral bound planners, my traveler's notebooks, all of my planners, and I'm in no way, shape, or form giving that up. But I've also always been a Google Calendar user. My husband and I use this to coordinate like our schedules across the calendars, and obviously I use it for work as well to like interface with Outlook and different things, because I do have to manage like a bunch of different schedules for different clients and things like that as well. So digital planning just becomes kind of essential with things like that, even on like the kids' calendars and everything. It's just a lot easier to move things around and keep track of. That being said, I do also always put it in my paper planner. But this month I actually added the app Notion in after I watched a Wild University, which is like the Go Wild, their digital library, and I joined that this month, and I have actually been really enjoying the videos. And I watched one of the month's minor for February was with Plans with Laura, and she was talking about digital planning. It was overall a very like basic introduction to digital planning, but she did do a video on Notion, and that wasn't an app I was familiar with before, and I absolutely love it. You can build like all kinds of tables and checklists and everything like that, and what I've mostly been using it for is something that's been working really well, which is this afternoon pending list. So one of my goals in February was to work on my afternoon routine, which was like really not going well the month before. I had tried like just setting different timers of when to stop working and do different things, and it just like nothing I was trying was working. So instead of doing like trying to tell myself to stop at a certain time, every day at 3 p.m., regardless of what I'm doing, I just take a minute and I make a pending list. And that has become such an essential habit for me this month. It's working so well. And basically I just take a look at all of the things that I had wanted to do that day that I didn't get to, and I just write it down both in my planner and on my phone, just depending on what kind of thing it is. It goes either in my planner or on my phone, on Notion, or in both. And then I just make a note of whether it's something that's urgent and needs to be handled, like when I get back from picking the kids up from school or that evening after they go to bed, or whether it's something that can be moved to another day or another week. And this has just become a really essential part of my afternoon routine. It helps me just put my phone down after the kids get home so much, because I'm not like, my brain is not whirling with all of the things that may or may not have happened. It just makes me feel so organized. I know exactly what I need to do, whether there's anything I need to do that night after the kids go to bed, and I don't have to worry about it. It's just like a little quick 5-minute check-in with my planners and with everything going on at the end of the day. So that pending list has been a habit that's really worked super well this month. That wasn't even a habit I had even considered or thought of in the month of January, and it took me like a few weeks to get it set up, to figure out what I was looking for. But it was really great, because one of the things that I'm working on this year is building routines, and this was supposed to be part of my afternoon routine. And basically the afternoon routine, I tried a bunch of different stuff in January and it was just not working at all. So I just went back to the core of the routine and asked myself, what is it you're trying to get out of this? And the answer was, I don't want to have to focus on a million things after I pick the kids up from school. I just want to be able to focus on the kids and like connect with them after their school day. And then so I thought, instead of stopping work at a certain time or whatever, what would help me the most stay connected? And I was like, well, what if I just made this list of anything that was left over and then just didn't think about it again until, you know, after they got to bed or another day, because I don't have to worry about something that isn't urgent at that point. So that has been tremendously helpful, and I will definitely be keeping that going forward into the next month. The next two questions are what I learned this month and what improvements or adjustments am I going to make this month, and I'm just going to kind of like group those together. Basically, it's just continued flexibility here, and I just think it's so important. Our school schedule has just been so uncertain this year, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of you if you have small children. There's just still a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of things are having to be constantly moved around, and there's just such a continued need for flexibility, and I'm fortunate enough to have so much control over my work schedule to really allow for that flexibility and just like absorb that for our family, which I'm really grateful for. So I just think that that's just keeping that flexibility in mind is going to be so key, and just like help me so much in terms of just building out my weeks in a way that like makes sense, and so I don't get so disappointed when things don't work out. So with that in mind, I'm going to be kind of incorporating that into my weekly tasks every week, and basically be like, I'm going to try and set my weekly tasks up in kind of like 3 tiers. Basically, it's just like everything that needs to get done this week is a habit, you know, like absolutely needs to get done. And then just like regular goals, these are the things that I want to do. And then sort of each week create a stretch goal. So like if there is extra time in the week, if everything goes according to plan, the kids are all in school and they're supposed to be in school, this is the goal that I'm going to focus on this week. That's sort of like that next level goal. And if I don't get to it, that's totally fine. It's not urgent for that week. But if I do have the time, this is what I want to work on next. Because there were a couple times over the course of the month where I was like, well, now I have a bunch of time. What should I do next? And maybe didn't use my time as wisely as I could have. And there were also a bunch of times this month where it was like total scrambling to get things done, and, you know, feeling the pressure because I had worked on something less essential first. So I'm just trying to, in terms of my weekly and for my monthly goals, which you will see shortly, it's not going to look any different than it did last month, but I'm going to try and bring that mindset into my weekly action items to kind of help prioritize things throughout the month. The next question is just what I'm most grateful for this month. The number one thing that just comes to mind right now is my husband. He just was really, really helpful this month. We had a lot of schedule shuffling with the kids and everything, and again, the birthday party was just such a huge disappointment, and he was so supportive of that, and he was so helpful with the kids until he got sick himself, which sick husbands are worth like 3 sick kids, and I have 3 kids, because not only is then he not helping take care of the kids, but he also needs help himself. But that aside, you know, I'm just tremendously grateful for him, for my whole family really, but really for my husband, especially this month. And I'm also grateful for some warm weather days. This is going to be a huge thing in my goals coming up this month, but just get outside. It has been a long winter and I am ready for spring. So I'm really grateful. We've had a couple of really nice days, some playground action, some walks, all of that stuff, and I can't wait for more of that. So I'm feeling grateful for what I've got there as well. Then for habits I want to nurture this month and areas I want to focus on next month. So this next month, I'm really going to try and focus on my routine building. I don't have any like one action item area that I really want to focus on. I guess most of my routines fall in the personal category that I'm working on building. So we'll talk about that, I guess, as my kind of key focus area. But really what I'm just want to do is work on building out all of the routines that I've already laid a foundation for some of these, like my pending list for my afternoon routine. I'm starting to work on a morning routine a little bit, and my planning routine is going super, super well, but I just really want to focus on building out some routines, and included in my routines are some routines that we've been working on for the kids, and I'm also talking about building out those for this month as well. But that is everything for sort of my February wrap up. Again, objectively speaking, birthday party aside, it was a pretty great month, and even just talking through it, I'm starting to feel a lot better for it. So this has been very therapeutic, and I thank you all for that. And stay tuned because I'm going to flip it over to the tabletop view for the plan with me.
Start with, I'm just showing the color palette that I have picked up and the washes that I have put aside for my monthly spreads in my Agendio planner, which is my functional planner. It's one of those planners where you can really customize like all the layouts and a bunch of different things with it. I do have like a full review video of this planner, and I've also been filming all of my plan as I go plan with me's that are like my functional plan with me's have also been in here. So I have come to think of March as birthday month, even though my birthday is actually in the beginning of April, but just because of like the way that the kids' birthdays fall, I just have come to think of March as birthday month. So my youngest, her birthday is right at the end of February, and then my two other kids are both in March, and then I'm in April. It's kind of like distributed throughout, and just because I think March is like the focal point of that it's just become like synonymous with birthday season in our house. So I always try and do something really festive in my planners for the month of March for the sort of birthday season, if you will. And for this year, I decided to go with some of my favorite Simply Gilded washi, some of the tie-dye ones, which honestly is my favorite Simply Gilded collection of all time, and then some of like the teal and purple ombres. And I just thought that was really, really pretty and just really fun and like good for spring, but also just like very festive. And then just copied that color palette with my Tombow brush pens and the mild liners that I picked out for this month. I'm still using the same 6 categories that I used last month, which are like money, finances, money/finances, appointments, planner stuff for YouTube, social media stuff, kids, other, and work. And other is just like a catch-all for anything that doesn't really fit into those other categories. There are, again, some overlaps between them, but for the most part, this has worked. I did used to have a category that was like specifically related to house appointments, but that was really for when we were doing construction, and like after that ended, after our construction finished, I barely ever used that category. So eventually I just canceled that one, and I just put those things under regular appointments now when they do come up, which is like not super often. But anyway, those categories have worked really well for me. And this is like one of my favorite spreads always in terms of like functionality, but also just the way that it looks. And I love just like the very simple color coding and just like a little hints of washi and all of that stuff like that. And I've been writing the months along the side and then tucking the key into some of the days that haven't been used, and I've just been doing that at the beginning of every month, and I've really, really loved that so far. So then I'm just putting in all of the dates that I know in advance, like some paydays, my planned content calendar, still planning to do 3 videos a week for this month since that went really well in February, and just some general work deadlines and appointments that I already know. We have like some parties scheduled, some birthday stuff going on already, and just like a variety of things, a couple doctor's appointments. So this is a pretty busy month, and we do have a lot of plans. So I wanted to make sure I got this all out on paper before I sat down with my goals, because I just like to keep that at the forefront of my mind. I know we have a busy month coming up, and that needs to be I need to keep that in mind as I'm going through my goals so that I don't try and tackle too many things that like can be saved for a later day when we've got so much going on. Which again, speaking of this, as soon as I finish putting in these appointments, I'm going to hop over to the dashboard spread just to get the base of that set up as well. And for this month, what I decided to do, besides running like just this purely decorative washi on the other pages, is I did list out, I actually have a lot of like work, like paid work this month. So I wanted to make sure I put in all of my work projects. And then I also decided to set up my video scheduler, which is what I put on that little section down there. And I just made a numbered list. There's 14 days in the month if I go on a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday schedule, which is my current YouTube schedule. So I was just like counting out the videos, putting down some of the ideas I have, and then I use like this dot system to check them off as they are filmed, edited, and uploaded. And I find this super useful for keeping track of all my YouTube stuff. And then I just put the date off to the side of when I plan to put them up. So then I'm just putting the work projects in before I switch over to my goals.
Okay, now that I have my calendar all set up, I am ready to jump into my March goals. I store my quarterly companion notebooks in this A5 Traveler's Notebook, which is from a shop called Condenata Notebooks, and it's a shop in Spain that makes just vegan leather, really nice, very affordable Traveler's Notebooks covers, and they have the A5 size, so I have not set this up yet. I actually think that's going to be on my goals for this month, and by that I mean like in terms of decorative pockets or anything. I'm just going to be doing a very minimal setup in here, so hopefully next month when you see this, it will be all set up. But I do keep my quarterly companion notebooks all together. I really like that, and I've been enjoying it. I just stick this in the bottom of my planner cart, and that way I can pop it out whenever I need it. So for today, I do have my first quarterly companion notebook pulled out. This is my last month in there since it is March, and they are quarterly, so next month we will be starting a new one, which is very exciting. And then I also have my annual goals notebook out so that I can break down my annual goals for the month of March, and I am ready to jump in. As I mentioned before in the forward facing, I've already done the reflections, and in addition to doing just the basic reflections on the month of February, I did also make some notes about what I wanted to focus on for the month of March by specific category and just in general. I thought that that would be really helpful this month, and I was just honestly thinking about it, and I kept like jotting things down on my phone or in my like notes section of my planner because I just kept thinking of things. So I just kind of collated all of my thoughts together over here so that I would have that to reference during the process. So we are going to jump into the March goals, and I think we're going to work this category by category because that's how I've been doing my weekly action items lately rather than starting with like habits or anything like that, and I've been really liking that so far. Okay, so the way I'm gonna do this, I'm not gonna go in like order of the thing, and I did just zoom you in slightly. I am actually going to start with financial because I find it's the easiest category because it's one of my like least focus areas for the year, I would say. And I just think that it's easier when I start this goal setting process. It's oftentimes easier to start with the easiest section first and just sort of get the thoughts flowing, get it down on paper, and then kind of like work your way up to the ones that are a little bit harder and require a little bit more thought. So I actually really like doing that. In terms of finances, we have my annual goals are right over here to the side, so I will like kind of pop this like that. So what we have here is I have a like monthly thing that I do every single month, and last month I realized I totally forgot to put like a focus, but this month I am gonna try and remember to do that. So anyway, and then in terms of other things from what I've jotted down in my notes, beyond that, there's also like a bunch of tax stuff going on this month. So we didn't get all of our tax documents until the end of February because of some of the like banking stuff. So this is the month where I actually need to get everything submitted over to the accountant and we can get everything ready to file our taxes. We are not early filers. We usually end up filing our taxes on like the very last day, which is totally fine. And we use an accountant. We don't do it ourselves. But yeah, so I just need to make sure everything is over to them and ready to go. And then beyond that, we actually have one thing that is in the annual goals that I'm going to start tackling this month. And that's starting an allowance system for the kids. It's come up repeatedly over the last month, and we got rid of our last like behavior incentive thing that we were doing because it just wasn't working super well anymore, and I think we are going to switch over to this allowance system. The before one was like a sticker chart with rewards, and we may like go back to that again. The problem with stuff like that is that we have our kids are all really close in age, like 2, 4, and 6, and it's close enough that you want them to have something similar, but it's far enough apart that like the same thing does not work for all of them. So it just requires like a little bit of thinking through to make things feel even for them, but you know, still functional, if that makes sense. So we're going to be trying some kind of allowance system. It's a little bit outside my comfort zone. Let me just write this down first, actually. Okay, so we have my regular monthly checks. Next month, we will be getting into the quarterly checks, but I'm going to wait until the end of the quarter to do that. So we have the regular monthly checks, and then I'm just going to put in the 2021 tax stuff. So I consider it done when it's like all handed over to the accountant, and then like, you know, obviously it's not 100% done until it's filed, but like, you know, I don't have to do that much after, just answer any questions that come up. So that is what I consider it done. And then I am going to put, for the thing, it's like, I think I might highlight this one rather than doing a check off, because I think it's going to take us like more than a month to necessarily have this as like a firm, you know, thing we're doing, but I'm just gonna put like start an allowance. So I did not receive an allowance as a kid, and my husband like kind of did, not really, like never any follow through. And there's like a lot of different philosophies out there when it comes to like giving your kids an allowance, and like in terms of like how much you should give them, what should be like in what kinds of things they should have to buy with an allowance versus things you just buy for them, and like also just like philosophies around whether you split the money and like one of those save, spend, and give plans. I think it's save, spend, and share plans, and there's just like a lot of different philosophies around it, and I was just like kind of hoping it would be a simple thing, and it's really just like a very simple thing, but we do have to like make some decisions around that and sort of experiment with what works, and what's like age appropriate, if that makes sense, because it's not like my kids are ever anywhere where they can just like spend money by themselves. They're not ever anywhere by themselves. They're 6 and under, so besides like school, and then they're not by themselves, they're with a teacher, and they don't need money for school. So yeah, so it's basically like how to figure out, you know, kind of what to do there. But that is all I have for financial goals, which is why I wanted to start there, because it's nice and easy, and then it's just written down. And then for the allowance thing, I'm going to be kind of breaking that down a little bit more specifically in the weekly goals, like getting it set up, explaining it to the kids, you know, deciding on a number, and then just trying it out and adjusting from there. But it's not going to be like, you know, it's not going to be like all ready to go day 1 of March. We're gonna kind of work up to it, which is sort of how I feel about all the goals in there. That's just like a really easy and concrete example. Anyway, next up, I think I'm gonna go with physical environment next. I have some things that I want to work on here, but again, I find that this is like a really easy category for me for the most part, so I'm just gonna put on that. Okay, so I want to Okay, so we have, we've been doing like the toy sort, but I actually, for this month, I'm gonna tweak that slightly and say to get the kids a little bit more involved in the toy sort, because it's just like come to the point where it needs to happen like that. And they are like pretty good about cleaning up, and I think that they can do more with helping get things like back in their correct bins and in their correct rooms. So that's like a good way to build on a habit that's already working well. Okay, and then we have this month I want to work a little bit more on the cleaning list, and actually from the cleaning list, which semi-exists in digital form, and is not in the physical calendars yet. So I'm just gonna put like, I'm just gonna put work on master cleaning list. This is like a list of like house projects and maintenance that I've been working on. It's been creative, and I have like all the maintenance stuff specifically already lined up or like written down when it needs to be, but I don't have like all of the cleaning things. And then related to that, I would like to do a deep clean of the kitchen. And by that, I mean, I wanna run the oven clean, like do the self-clean on the oven. I also want to pull out the appliances, like pull out the fridge and vacuum behind the fridge and like oven and stuff, and then also clean the inside of the fridge. So that is the kind of what I mean when I say deep clean. And I guess I could actually even, I have space here, so I'm just gonna write those 3 things down. So we have, and then I can just make a dot for each of those things to check off. And the oven cleaning has to be done on a very specific kind of day because it needs to be cold enough that you're not gonna overheat the house, but it needs to be warm enough that you can open your windows. So it's just like, I don't know if everyone feels that way, but for me, that's the best day to like run the oven self-clean is like you want to be able to open the windows, and you also just don't want to be sweating nonstop all day from having your oven cleaning run. Because if you don't know, basically it just like turns the oven up super hot for a really long time and like burns off all the dirty stuff. Anyway, that is it for physical environment. I'm going to swing up to health and wellness, which is another easy-ish category. And I just want to take a look because these 2 categories are kind of starting to like overlap a little bit in the area of like exercise and mental health, if that makes sense. Like they're just sort of starting to run a little bit together, which again, a lot of these categories run together. It's really hard to bucket things into your life into like one specific category when most things run, you know, through all of them. Okay, so I'm just seeing what I specifically put in on health versus spiritual, and I think I put like more of the stuff that I want to add into the spiritual section. For the health stuff, I just have 3 things, and they're all like really super easy things, and I put the more challenging ones into the spiritual and personal growth, which is fine. It's like they straddle both categories. So I have still dental routine, but in this month, I'm going to be trying to not putting it in my habit tracker at first, my daily habit tracker, and seeing if it still works. I still want to do it every day, and I've done it every single day so far this year, which is amazing. But I also don't want to, I just don't think it needs to take up space in my weekly planner, in my like daily planner, or my weekly planner, like in my daily checklist, if that makes sense. And I'm starting to run out of room in the area of my planner that I have dedicated for habits. So I'd like to have that not be a habit and still get done, or like be a habit, but not a habit I have to check off, if that makes sense. So I will be trying that out. And if it doesn't work, I'll put it back in. Okay. And then I have my cycle tracking, which is going well so far this year, as in I'm actually doing it. And then I also need to book my kids' pediatrician appointments, and then I am also seeing the periodontist. So I'm gonna put that over here, and then there may be follow-ups from that appointment, so I can add them in later. If you don't know, I have a lot of teeth problems. If you watch my channel, you probably know that because it comes up. And I actually got referred back to the periodontist again for like, whatever, the 10th time, and just like to check in on things. And, you know, I end up probably going at least once a year, and then getting sent away from the periodontist and then back and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, okay, so we've got okay, so I'm just gonna leave it like that, and then I'm gonna swing back to this one after I do something else. So I think I'm gonna switch to work. I just have a couple of things written down in this for this month for a number of reasons. One, I really made that my focus for February, and that went really well, but I have a lot of like actual work, like as in the work that I do to get paid, lined up for this month, so I don't have a lot of time, like extra time that I'm gonna wanna dedicate to like the sort of larger scale goals. And that's totally fine. And that's, you know, I didn't have a lot of work going on in February, and I focused more on like the sort of larger growth goals, and that's okay. So for this one, I have just 2 goals that I want to add in for this month, and that is So I set up work social media accounts. So I just want to use those basically. And then I also want to, what was the other one? Oh, set up a reflection. So one of my goals for the year, which I totally ignored in January, February, was that I was supposed to like do like a reflections every month after the month ended on my work, and after major projects. I haven't done any major projects so far this year. I actually have my first one coming up in this month. So I just want to set up a space for reflections after. And that will be, I'll set that up, and then I'm actually going to put in to reflect after the first project. So I'm thinking that this is probably going to be digital, like some kind of document, because just for work, I find that that's easier. But so anyway, I am just gonna do that. So I think that that'll be helpful, and then I can use it for the first time after my project. And then in terms of the monthly reflections, I think I will pick that up starting after this month, basically. I think that will probably work, and we'll see if I have anything that I want to, you know, put in there. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing, but that is what I want to do. So I think that in terms of focus, so I guess for focus for finance, the main thing that we're thinking about is the allowance. So I am going to make my goal for my focus for the month educate. And then for physical environment, I'm just gonna say the kitchen is the goal, the focus for the month. And then for health and wellness, I'm gonna say maintain, especially since I'm looking at trying to take out the like checklists from around this from my planner, but still keep like maintaining. Planner spaces is valuable, you know, and I'm working on new habits, and if something's already a habit, maybe you don't need to check it, like a well-established habit, maybe you don't need to check it out every day. So that is what that's gonna be. And then I think for this month, it's just gonna be, I'll say, execute and reflect. I just have a lot of work this month, like of actual work, which is good because that means I'll get paid. Because I work freelance, so if I don't work, I don't get paid. But anyway, yeah, okay. So that is that. And then next up, I just dropped a pen. I do have my my annual goals basically open this whole time, even though you cannot see them. I just thought it would be easier if you could see what I'm writing, but you can let me know in the comments down below if you prefer to be able to see both at the same time. Okay, so next up, I think I want to work on, I'm just flipping back and forth to this very messy notes page over here. I think I'm gonna work on fun. I think that that is where I'm going to swing next, because I'm making some changes in the other categories, which is why I'm like kind of saving those for last. So in terms of fun, we have, I'm just looking to see how I set up February too, if I can find it. Where is February? There we go. All right, we got schedule, fun, birthday planning, vacation, research. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, we've got the weekend fun thing. So I want to do like this. I like how I did that before, where it's like, and there are 4 weekends in this month again. So it's just basically like having pre-scheduled plans, or like a general game plan of what we want to do for the weekend, every weekend. And you know, that's been working really well. We haven't quite been able to do it like every single weekend, but we have like a backup list that we work from when we don't actually have plans, and that part is also helping. Okay, then in terms of the other things for this month, I have written down vacation planning, and and involved with this, I also want to do like, I'm just gonna say some weekend play dates or meetups. Now that it's getting warmer and we can go back to the playground, that's like so helpful. And like no set number around this because we actually have like a lot of birthday parties coming up this month. But you know, it's just really nice then like kids from the kids' school are starting to get together at the playground and stuff. And like honestly, that is just like so amazing. The kids just absolutely love that, and it makes the weekends so much easier. So yay for warm weather. Okay. And then I am gonna work on vacation planning this month. Because we have the kids' passports, we know when we want to go, and it's starting to be time to like actually book this. We're like still kind of like back and forth a little bit with some COVID restriction stuff, but we are pretty sure we know what we're doing, but we'll see. And this is for our family trip, and then actually like, well, I guess I'll put that in family. Well, I guess I'll put that in family relationships. But we actually, my husband and I, we're going to a wedding that's like pretty close to home this month. But we're actually staying over at the hotel anyways, which should be really fun. So I'm really excited about that, and we've already planned that out, which is great. Okay, so this is just gonna be like that. I mean, honestly, I'm just really, as probably like most people who live in anywhere where it's been cold, I'm just really excited for some warmer weather, which will hopefully happening at least by the end of the month. We've already gotten some nice days, but yeah. Okay, so then I'm gonna swing over to spiritual, and then while I'm talking about outside stuff, since that's gonna be a focus in here too, and then I will do the last two categories. So in terms of spiritual and all of that kind of stuff, I really only have 2 annual goals for that, and one is going like really, really well, which is like the forgive and forget thing, and one is not going so well. It's not been awful or anything, but I just like haven't really been focusing on it, and that's the like de-stressing and resetting routines basically. And it's just, yeah, I don't know, trying to work within like the confines of like, I'm not trying to push myself out of my comfort zone in that area. I'm just not, and that's fine. I'm trying to find things that work within my comfort zone. Like I have no desire to try and learn how to meditate or be still like that, and I don't think that that's a problem. It's just not something that I want, and that's not something I'm gonna work towards. So that is, you know, I think it's okay to acknowledge stuff like that. Like you don't have to try something if you don't want to. So anyway, there are other things I can do. What do we got here? What I wanted to do was like, the one thing that's going really well is just like maintaining boundaries around family visits. And this has worked so well and helped with positive interactions with my parents so much. We have a very close-knit family and everybody lives really close together, but you know what? I don't need to see my parents 4 times a week. That's too much. And like with all of the phone calls and text messaging on top of that, it's people just start sniping at each other and it's not pleasant, you know, and that doesn't need to happen. It's much better to just say we're only gonna see each other once or twice a week, to like disengage from the family group chat when I don't wanna be in it, which is honestly most of the time, and just like not worry about it. And it's been like saying no, like, you know, being like, no, today is not a good day for you to just stop by, you know, and that's been really helpful. And then when we do see our family, which again is still very frequent, it's the interactions are much more positive. So that has been really good. It's really hard to say no, but it's really helpful. Okay, so then next after that, the yoga stuff was going really well, but now it's like not going super well. So I do want to add that back in. But I want to caveat that with like outside time, because I would rather be outside than inside. And I don't want to like put a set number of days, but I just want to say like, it's basically like be outside when you can be outside, but do yoga when you can't be outside, if that makes sense. So I actually think maybe I'll just write that, like, you know, I think that works for me. And like, I know like, yeah, technically you can always go outside. I am not one of those people. If it is cold, I don't want to be outside. If it is raining, I don't want to be outside. If it is any kind of like weather, I don't want to be outside. I don't. And that's fine. Again, you don't have to, you know, it's fine. I'm okay with that. So I will add in the yoga when weather is not nice, but otherwise I'd rather take like a walk with the stroller or go to the park or run around outside in my yard, and they are like serving the same purpose of just like, you know, physical and mental health, a little bit of exercise, a little bit of movement, but also just like enjoying something, enjoying life and enjoying myself, and like reconnecting in a way that's not sitting down with my planners, which I also love. But yeah, just that's basically like shutting off your brain a little and just enjoying the sunshine or the non-sunshine, either way. Okay, as long as it's not cold or raining. So then swinging back over, let's do family and relationships, and then I will end with personal, which has become kind of like a catch-all for everything else. And in terms of family, I had initially set up to that we're like supposed to have like one date night, one like a one-on-one activity, and like one solo excursion for myself, and that I had just been doing like a checklist like that every month. But what I've decided to do is just make it feel like there's adequate of all of those things. Not the date night. I still like to do the date night, although for this month it's going to be that wedding. But I don't feel like I need to specifically like every month or every week feel like I need to have a specifically booked solo excursion or one-on-one time. I just want it to feel like I'm getting enough of both of those things. And sometimes just because of like the way the school schedules are currently working, or not working, I should say, it's not, I don't always need to schedule it. Sometimes I get a full week where like everybody goes to school and I get plenty of solo time. I don't have a lot of work going on. And then I don't need that extra solo time. I'd rather spend my weekend with the family. But sometimes, you know, things are not going well and I feel like I need a little solo time. Or sometimes I get a lot of one-on-one time with a specific kid and sometimes I don't. So I just need that to be like a little bit more wiggly, because I don't always, you know, it doesn't always serve me to have something to check off. Sometimes it's not that. But beyond that, I do have this screen-free thing, and this is another one. It's going super well like almost every day, and I'm thinking about also potentially taking this off of my habit tracker in my daily planner, even though I want to make this like obviously still a part of life. So for this one, instead of writing to schedule a date, since we already have this like very well scheduled and fun, and our weekends are actually pretty full this month already, which is fantastic, I am just gonna put like enjoy. I love weddings. I absolutely love weddings. I am really excited for this one. It's gonna be like so fancy and just like really, really fun. And it's at like this amazing venue, and we're staying like at the hotel, and it's just, I'm really excited. Okay, so I'm just gonna put like, and it's so nice like that we are gonna get to stay over. My mother-in-law is watching the kids, and that's just really fun. And that's just like an extended date night, right? So really, really awesome. I'm really excited about that. And then the other thing that I put in was that oh, okay. So it's just, I guess it's like technically two things. So I'll give myself, so to have I don't know how to spell adequate. Adequate solo and one-on-one time. And I'm actually going to say each week. And then if it doesn't happen during the week, make a plan to have it happen during the weekend. So I think that is going to work a little bit better than like saying one specific event. So it's just like base it on how you're feeling, you know, if that makes sense. Okay, so that is that for that category. And then the last is for personal. And what have we got going on over here? Where is that category? Okay, so here are my goals, and this month I'm gonna be working on routine building. I already know that that's the focus. All right, I am taking, even out of the monthly goal, I don't know if I'm gonna write in like the weekly pre-planning thing. It's unnecessary to write even in my monthly goals. It like literally never doesn't happen. So I feel okay about that. Like obviously this YouTube channel is a huge driver of that. Well, I guess they're drivers of each other. My love for planning is just kind of like knows no bounds. So I'm not really worried about that not happening. Okay, in terms of, the non-routine things that I want to work on is I do want to do like a decorative setup for my MakseLife TN. Sorry, my camera's battery just died, but basically I just want to get the deco setup done, and that's going to be my more artistic pursuit for the month. I may do like some more art journaling and stuff as well, but I'm not going to make a goal around that. Not for this month anyways. And then okay, so then the things that I'm trying to work on, the pending list for my afternoon routine, I think I'm just gonna do like, I'm gonna put like this for PM routine. So the pending list is going super, super well, and I absolutely have been loving that. So in terms of my goals, basically my routines, hey, routine building was actually my annual goal as well. I forgot that. But the PM routine, the pending list is working really, really well. So I love that so much. That has been a great adjustment. So I am going to say, like, I'm gonna keep that up. That's a newer habit. I wanna keep that in the tracker. So I'm just gonna put the pending list. And then that is going to be the only thing I have for the pre-pickup. I don't really feel like I want to build that out anymore right now. And I'm actually not sure that I want to build that out anymore ever, because I just feel like I need different things on different days. So the pending list is working really well on busy days and on non-busy days. So I like that a lot right now. So then what I want to work on is the like after school routine. So like I'm just going to say, so just like work on building that kids after school routine. Obviously, there are some days where there's literally nothing you can do because of like the way the kids are, besides just like give them a snack and pop them in front of the TV. But there are a lot of days where like, could we spend some time outside? Does my big kid have homework? There's just like different stuff that we need to think about and like how to make that function and like what's the best order of operations. Also, like there is almost every single day, like the getting from the car back into the house and like to snack is sometimes just so stressful. It's like the most stressful 15 minutes of my day. And like, what can we do to improve that? Like to stop the bickering about like who gets out of the car first, like who doesn't feel like carrying their backpack, like just that kind of stuff, little kid stuff. So just working on it, you know, kids like routine, I like routine, let's make it happen. Okay, and then the morning, stuff, which is not going well. So initially I was like trying to set a time for my alarm and like decide it based on that. But actually I think it's just better to say like what time I want to be downstairs by, and that's easier. I don't know why that's easier, but it is. So and then right now that's just on weekdays. I want to be, and again, except for on like early morning writing days, which is a different ball game, but be downstairs by 6:30. So that is what I want to shoot for right now, and that is what I'm going to work on. And then I do have like a little bit of extra space here, so I'm just going to put my weekly planning. And I have gotten more flexible about the days on this, but yeah, it's going really well. Obviously, I'm just having a really great time with my planners right now. Okay, so that is everything for my goals. Okay, so the last thing that I do before I wrap this video up is translate my goals into my dashboard spread. I'm actually going to start with the to schedule because that's really easy and because I know right off the bat I need to schedule the children's pediatrician appointments. So I'm just going to put that in first, and then I'm just going to work my way through using the notes section, which I use for my habits, the to-do section, which I use for tasks, the work session, which is already done, but I might add a few more things into there. And I use the same MakseLife color coding in here, and I'm just gonna get this all transferred in, and then I'm gonna throw it back over to the face front to wrap this video up.
Check in with the goals in my MakseLife every week when I set up my weekly action items, and I use the MakseLife to do that. But I do like to have like this consolidated list in my functional planner. It's just really easy and handy to reference, and it only takes about 5 minutes to set up. Basically, I just take all of the action items from my monthly goals that are like concrete tasks where you could say this is a thing, like when it's done, you know it's done, not like the more emotional centered goals like that. If it has like a concrete end, then I put it in the task list. If it's a habit, I put it in the habit, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, and then I categorize them, and then I put it anything that needs to be scheduled in the schedule bucket. Not a one-to-one translation of how I wrote my goals, and I do still check in with my MakseLife frequently.
Okay, that is everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, definitely let me know in the comments down below, and also like this video, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and check me out on Instagram at MyCraftyPlans to keep up with everything going on in all my planners. Bye!